Greetings! Today's video is going to be a little watercolor news with a couple of extras. I found a few interesting things and I wanted to share them with you guys. And I'm going to start right away with a special release of watercolor paints from White Nights or Nevskaya Palitra. Disclaimer, I know it is a Russian company. I know. I'm mostly sharing these because I feel like they are very inspiring colors and they might inspire you to recreate those mixes or make your own mixes. I'm just hoping that this release from them might be a catalyst for more paints like these, or for us to create our own paints from whatever we already have at home. So I'm not saying go buy these paints, I'm just saying look at these, they are really pretty. So the paints, they called this release Metamorphose, or it looks like it's the French spelling, Metamorphose. But yeah, it's a limited edition. You get sort of 3 sets of 4 full pans. They kind of group them up in themes. So we have a dream, mystery, and broom theme. So it's broom, and it's basically like mist or fog. These are said to be light fast. So for the dream theme, we get Rose Dream, which is a mix of PV14 and PO73. We get Blue Dream, a mix of PV14 and PB28. Mint Dream, PB14, PB36, and PG7. And we have Green Dream, which is a mix of PG50, PY3, and PBR24. Then we get the Brum colors. I'm not going to be able to say broom. Sorry. But yeah, we get Morning Brum, which is PV14 and PY42. Evening Brum, PV14, PBR33, and PO73. We get Mountain Brum, PB28, PR102, PBR29, and PBR25. And the last one is Forest Brum, PB29, PBR24, and PY110. And the last theme is Mystery. So we have Black Mystery, which is PB29, PBK11, and PBR25. Green Mystery, PG26, PBR33, and PB16. Red Mystery, PBK11, PBK28, and PR254. And Blue Mystery, PV16, PB29, and PG7. Now, I tried to compile the pigment info as best I could. I stumbled upon different info depending on where I looked, so I think there's a few typos on what's available out there, so keep that in mind. But still, I think the swatches are really good at selling these colors. The mixes are super interesting, and there's quite a few in there that I'm really wanting to try and mix myself. Then a little Schmincke watercolor news. They released a new palette that is super cute and fun. It is a collaboration with artist Felix Scheinberger. He's a super fun artist. He does a lot of really cartoony, dynamic stuff. And I think the collaboration is also super fun because they went to a bit of a different route with this one. They have a drawing from the artist printed on the tin. So it's like their regular black tin, but you have this extra drawing on it of an owl. And it's super fun. It's in gold and white, the same colors they have on their regular tins, which is really fun. And I think that's a really great way to make a tin a bit more interesting and also a bit more recognizable. The only downside is that it's a bit hard to find and a bit pricey. But that aside, I really like this idea. And in this particular set, you get 12 half pans. It is a tin that can hold up to 18 if you use the trays that come with the palette. So you have room to add your own colors. It comes with colors 524 May Green, a mix of PY151 and PG7, 509 Cobalt Turquoise, pigment PG50, 494 Ultramarine Finest, pigment Blue 29, 485 Indigo, a mix of PB15 Colin 1 and PB66. And we have 229 Naples Yellow. This one is 3 pigments, PW6, PY53, and PBR24. 655 Yellow Ochre, pigment Yellow 42. 654 Gold Brown. This one has 2 pigments, PY65 and PBR41. And also 663 Sepia Brown, a mix of 3 pigments, PB15 Colin 1, PBR7, and PBK9. And then the last colors in this selection are 216 Pure Yellow, which is PY154, color 214 Chromium Orange Hue, pigment Orange 62, 341 Geranium Red, PR242, and finally the last color is number 367, and it is Purple Magenta, which is pigment Red 122. I know that sounds just just like me throwing out a bunch of numbers. Hopefully the images on screen will be helpful, but that's the info on the colors. And I think it's a nice selection of colors. I quite like it. You don't really have a cyan in this case, but you get a magenta, you get a bit of a neutral yellow, you have a red, you have a nice orange. I really like their chromium orange hue personally. I really like the inclusion of indigo and cobalt turquoise, and I also like that there's really fun, more earthy colors in there as well. It's a nice selection of colors. You get some more transparent, you get some more opaque, you get some texture, you get some really smooth. So I think that's fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more fun palettes from Schmincke. I find these super inspiring to look at. Then I have a bit of news from Winsor & Newton. Unfortunately, it's not new colors, but it is a really fun idea that they've put forward. They've partnered with TerraCycle and they've set up a program for recycling empties. So if you have empty tubes, empty markers, all kinds of used up materials from Winsor & Newton, you can check on the website. I'll put the link in the description, and there's a lot of details over there on how to proceed. But basically, you can send your used up products to TerraCycle for a better management of the waste and recycling of these. I think it's a really fun idea. I'd be really curious to see if it has any kind of impact, but I like the idea of knowing that there's an option to have this stuff not end up in any kind of regular dump, if that makes sense. And then I have two last little news items. One is related to pigment news. Not exactly new pigments, actually kind of the opposite. It is about the world's oldest synthetic pigment, Egyptian blue, and it's a pigment that was used a really, really long time ago and was in use until it wasn't, and then it wasn't needed for long enough that the recipe kind of got lost to history. And recently, there's a team of researchers that have been able to figure it out to reproduce sort of the formula for this color, and it's a really interesting article. I encourage you to go read it. There's a lot of fun stuff in there, and also they kind of go over what kind of modern use we could have for this really old pigment. So I think that's pretty awesome. And then, of course, I have to include a little cat news. And this one is also in relation to cat coat colors, so their fur color. This is an aspect of cats that fascinates me, really. It's so intricate and complex, and the way the genetic code of cats manages their fur color is really, really complex, but also simple and unusual. But anyway, it's fascinating. I really like it. And I saw this article where there's been some more thorough research on what explains the genetics of a cat having an orange coat, depending on if it's a male cat, a female cat, all that stuff. The article goes really deep into it and it gets a bit technical, so it's a bit hard to follow at some point, but it's still really fascinating. And as a loving servant to a tortoiseshell and an orange cat, I thought this was really interesting to know. I'll have the link in the description if you want to read that one as well. And that's about it for the watercolor news with extras for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts, any opinions to share, feel free to do so in the comments. I really enjoy having a little discussion down there with you guys, and we will see each other in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.